heard a lot of different kinds of strategies, and one of the strategies that I've also heard about is people keeping a copy of, or motorcyclists actually keeping a copy of their paperwork, like their insurance, their license, and their registration in an area that's very visible, easily accessible. So there's no way there could be any mistake about trying to grab a pistol or a weapon, right? So you could just tell the officer, "Hey, I have my things, and it's in this bag. It's in this little bag that, you know, whatever the bag. There's no way it could fit a weapon. So this way, there's no threat to anybody." I've heard like that as one of the strategies. What do you think?
No, I think that's a good point. Because you're on a motorcycle and the cop is asking for license, registration, insurance card, it's going to be in your saddlebag or like I said, a bag somewhere on the bike that you're reaching into.
Welcome to Riding Counsel with Rich Jaffe, where the open road meets expert advice. I'm Richard Jaffe, an attorney and biking enthusiast, and this is the podcast where we dive into the world of motorcycling, safety, culture, charitable giving, and riding right. So, whether you're a seasoned rider or just getting started, let's talk bikes, the road, and everything in between. Let's ride!
All right, all right, all right. Hello, everyone out there. This is Rich Jaffe from ridingcounsel.com. And we are here on the podcast of ridingcounsel.com, Motorcycle Law and Charity, a guide to riding right. And today I have an awesome guest with me. His name is Joe Eschmann. And the first thing I'm going to do is have Joe introduce himself. And Joe, if you could tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what do you do? What's your favorite food? What's your blood type? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Eschmann. I'm retired for 4 years now. I was a cop for 30 plus years. Now, I said 4 years. I'm in the Blue Knights Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, which is, if you don't know, it's 34 countries, 15,000 plus members, and I'm here in Long Island with New York 10, which is mostly Nassau County, NYPD, Suffolk.
All right.
This episode has been brought to you by Riding Counsel. Don't forget to visit us at ridingcounsel.com.
So you ride. I mean, let's just get down to it. You ride.
I love riding.
Yeah. What do you ride? What do you ride?
A 2014 Harley Davidson Ultra Limited.
Wow. Nice. Nice. So it's been good to you since that long. I mean, it's 2014. It's more than a decade away, and it's holding up. That's pretty good.
Well, I looked into getting a new bike, but other than Apple CarPlay, new bike doesn't get me much more than I already have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I hear you. I hear you. Plus,
I
they all have their flavor, and then you get used to your bike, right? You get used to the bike you're riding, and
I get used to it. I mean, I keep it clean, but I put a couple scratches on it here and there, and I just live with it now.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Get that first,
some people call it scratches. Other people call it like flavor. Like character.
it's got some character. Yeah,
So you were a police officer for a while.
yeah. 30 years patrol officer.
Wow.
Uh, at, at Freeport Police, I was not. A lot of guys are city first. I was all Freeport.
So Freeport, just for those who you don't know, it's on Long Island, right on the South Shore, uh, and I mean 3 decades, long time, long time. So thank you very much for that. Um, but when you were working for the Freeport Police, did you also ride a motorcycle, or were you like walking the beat, or what did you
I,
do?
you know, mostly patrol in the car. But Back 2007, I was able to get the motorcycle uh, training, police training, which is great training for you. And then from there, did a little bit of patrol on the bike, but for the most part, it was funerals, events, parades, because it's a village. We have about 100 cops. It's not a big town.
Right.
So every once in a while, I did a little patrolling on the bike, but
So when you're riding around on the bike, on the motorcycle for the village of Freeport, uh, it can't be like what you're riding now, right? The Ultra, it can't be the same kind of bike.
no, it was a Harley Davidson Road King.
All right. All right. So,
Great bike.
uh, was it a special edition or like was it a police edition?
Police edition.
Right.
Police
So
edition.
what makes something like that a police edition?
Um, Good question. You know,
Like,
the
like
bike,
I know they have like a seat, right? Isn't there like a different seat?
yes.
Yeah.
It's a very comfortable seat. It's a solo seat with actually a spring underneath it. It makes it a little bit more comfortable. And then
Right.
you're adding everything else. You're adding, the siren, the lights, uh, crash bars, and light, all different things just for the police department.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a great
So
bike. I wouldn't say a great bike to learn to ride on, but it's a great bike to go through the police training with.
what was like you had to go to like look, when I have to get a license, right, or like normal civilians, if you will, there's like an MSF course, right? The safety course that you could take, or you could go to somebody private, or like crazy people, they just think, okay, I got a license now, I could just ride my motorcycle anywhere. So that's how they learn, and they fall and
Oh,
they crash, stuff like that. So, but what was going through like a police motorcycle class? What's that like?
in 30 years, I'd say it's probably the most fun I've had
Hmm.
on the job. It was for it's usually 6 weeks, but we squeezed another 2 weeks in. We did it for 8 weeks. And I had a lot of fun. I was getting paid to ride the bike. And for 8 weeks, we were in the parking lot with the cones, slow riding, fast riding, emergency stopping. And then we got out onto the, just the road. Um, but I had a lot of fun with it. We had the class I was in was 14 of us,
Wow.
and some days we'd get to work in the morning and say, "All right, we're going to take a ride out to Montauk today, and we'll have some lunch out there, and then we'll come back and we'll do some cones." It's like this is pretty.
Wow. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, but I guess it's necessary, right? I mean, you really have to be trained well to ride, a motorcycle, especially if you're a police officer. I'm imagining they had to train you for all kinds of emergency maneuvers. Like, turning is one thing, right? But you're out there on a motorcycle, and you gotta whatever you got to avoid certain obstacles or make some crazy ass maneuvers to try to get a perpetrator or something. You really got to be prepared for that.
Oh yes, and they definitely prepare you for that. Like I said, it's great. It's great training, but for your own personal life, for the rest of my riding on my own bike,
Yeah.
it's just great to have the awareness. I still practice cones in the parking lot. We have a few guys that like to do it, and an instructor that works with us. Um, but it's free. We do it for fun. And
So, I know you ride motorcycles. Well, you did it for a living wow, for
sorry about
3
that.
decades, which is crazy. I don't know how you made it through. I mean, it's a crazy world out there. Uh, but you also do it personally and you do it professionally. You did it. I'm wondering if it's changed your thoughts about motorcyclists in general. Like, so in other words, what I'm getting at is when motorcyclists go through a village, like the village of Freeport, right? They got the loud pipes, they rev their engines, right? They're at stoplights, and people definitely look because it's a motorcycle, it's not a car. And I'm wondering, you think like in a village like Freeport, which isn't the biggest village, it's not small by any chance, but it's not the biggest village, but you think motorcyclists get unfairly targeted when they're driving through a place like Village of Freeport?
I would I would say no.
Yeah.
I don't think so. There are trends at times. If you remember about a year ago, a little bit more, NYPD was stopping motorcyclists everywhere. And it was just a trend. Because I don't know if it started because of all those kids on dirt bikes riding through the city. The lane splitting, the speeding, public complaints, wherever it starts. Freeport had the same thing. Down on South Freeport, there's a lot of restaurants down there. And for a while there, you get the loud pipes and really loud.
Yeah.
And you get enough complaints, okay, we're going to start cracking down on the loud pipes. So, like I said, it's kind of trends. I don't think they're targeted. uh, unless they're, reckless speeding, things like that.
So yeah, so let's talk about some of the common things that bikers would really get pulled over for in Freeport, or what did you see mostly? I mean, was it just the way they dress? Was it, they're flying their colors on the back of their vests? They're doing gang activities. I mean, what kind of stuff did you see?
We had some of that many years ago. I hadn't seen them, but we had the pagans who at times created some chaos down at the bars. But it wasn't just them. Sometimes it's the sport bikes, and you know they fly by you on, and you're just like wincing, waiting for them to wrap themselves around a tree, things like that. And you don't feel bad stopping those guys if they stop. The thing is, they take off on you. You're not chasing them. Most departments have a policy of not pursuing a
Yeah,
motorcycle.
so maybe flesh that out a little bit. So, I mean, I know you're not a police officer. Well, you're not a full-time police officer anymore for Freeport. So, we're just talking generally. Why is it that they take off on you and you guys didn't chase?
Liability,
Hmm.
because there have been those pursuits, and it's never going to end well.
Right.
The biker is going so fast, he'll kill himself or someone else. Um, Same thing in a car. I mean, Long Island is a bit of a crowded place, so even pursuits it just doesn't happen very often on Long Island.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean,
Bikers have
safety on Long Island is number one, right? I mean, that's
specific policy. You do
yeah,
not pursue speeding motorcycles.
yeah.
So
So, uh,
liability reason.
what other kind of stuff? So these people are, I mean, look, if you're driving a motorcycle, especially in like a village, there's just no need to do that, right? I mean, it, it's just stupid. It's just stupid to start speeding through a village like that. You put not only yourself in danger, but everybody around. I mean, it's just dumb to do, right? So tell us more dumb things that people are doing to get pulled over these days.
A lot of times it's youth. You know, we, I never rode like that, but when I was a kid, I had a Kawasaki, had no training, and I was just out there riding, to the beach with shorts and a t-shirt on. It's a stupid thing. And kids, like I said, you don't pursue them, but sometimes, I've seen him before. I know where he lives, so I'll go visit his house in a little while and have a little talk with him. And if he's a teenager, I'll have a talk with his parents too, or even a young kid, just let their parents know, this, one of these days he's not going to come home riding like that.
Yeah, yeah. So, you were on a motorcycle, but you also said before even the motorcycle, you were riding in a car. You think it's easier or harder to pull somebody over if you're on a motorcycle?
Um, I don't think there's much difference. As long as they see you, hear that lights and sirens, uh, they're going to pull over. And
Yeah.
a bike, you have to obviously be very aware. Uh, the car you can kind of put into the lane a little bit to protect yourself when you get out and you're speaking with a motorist. You can't do that on a bike. So there are some things like that where you have to be maybe a little bit more aware of the cars coming by and maybe ask the driver, can you pull up a little further where it's safer? Um, that's one difference. Uh,
So, uh, I mean, if you get pulled over, right? If like you're in a car and you get pulled over by a a police officer on a motorcycle, you think there's certain things that the driver of the car, can do to help the police officer who's pulling them over?
like I said, pull over a little further to the right if they think of it. Most don't. Some people are surprised because they don't get pulled over with by motorcycle cops too often, or hopefully not getting pulled over that often. But you know what I'm saying. It's a little different.
Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, respect. Just show the cops some respect. For the most part, you're going to get it back. I mean, 30 plus years. If I stop someone, they show me respect. I'm sorry, officer. Don't start arguing. That I didn't see what I think I saw.
So
And
you've seen people like pretty much. Let's talk it. You pull them over. It's probably not such a big offense, right? Because you just got to pull them over. Let's check it out. Like maybe give them a warning. That's your intention. But then somehow they seem to talk themselves into a ticket. Have you ever run into those kinds of circumstances?
like I said, if you show respect, 30 plus years, nice, and I had no issue with you. For the most part, I'm not writing you a ticket. It's those people who argue, and are angry that they're stopped. They're talking themselves into tickets. They make it, in some ways, they make it easier on me. Like, okay, I guess I'm writing some tickets here. You know,
Right.
uh, sometimes you feel bad. Hey, you're stopping someone on their way to work, and now they're getting $200 ticket for speeding or something. They're at least for me, there was a little bit of feeling for them, but that was gone as soon as they said, "Hey, what are you stopping me for? You didn't, you had no reason to stop me." I didn't feel guilty anymore. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't help your situation, right? If you get pulled over and you want to be angry about it, I mean, just now is not the time, right? I mean, most of the time, I think, especially like in a village like Freeport, uh, the police officers are just doing their job, and people do make mistakes, right? I mean, sometimes they don't realize how fast they're going, or maybe they didn't signal or something like that, because we often do get distracted. So you
Right.
get pulled over, but look, don't make it worse on yourself. I mean, that's probably the worst thing you could do is try
Yeah,
to, be disrespectful to a police officer. And why would you do that anyway? I mean, I don't know if people notice, but police officers often have guns. So why would you want to be angry and threatening to a police officer?
right. I don't get it either. So I think sometimes people's nervousness turns to anger on getting stopped, but you just went from one ticket to maybe three or four. It's you're not helping yourself.
Right. Right. It doesn't make sense. It
No.
doesn't make sense to me. So, um, what about, okay, so that's basically people talking themselves into a ticket or maybe multiple tickets, right? Because they just they're not there with the right mindset. But what about what about talking yourself out of a ticket? I mean, you think it's ever possible? Has it ever happened? Like, look, you're going in, you're like, oh man, I'm writing a ticket, but you show up and you're talking to the driver and it's maybe something that you haven't expected. So, you decide to maybe just let them off with a warning. Anything like that ever happen to you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then, like you said, it could be just someone went through a red light. You didn't see who was driving. They went by you. You make the stop, and then it's your grandmother. And, she's going, "Sorry, I didn't see the light." And I don't know. I have a hard time writing that one. Um, and then you got the ones that, well, I got to pee, or I have diarrhea. That's why I was speeding. Some of those, but I've heard that more than once. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't. That usually doesn't. So what do you say? Just go in the car, like like let it rip in the car, you know. Like that's why they have like the coating on the leather seats, right? That's
Oh yeah, there you
yeah, yeah,
go. On my way to church, there's a thousand of them.
yeah.
They don't usually work.
All right. So the tip of the day: don't use the bathroom excuse. No diarrhea, not peeing. Usually doesn't work there.
Most cops have heard it already.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Come up with something creative. We got to be creative with that.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you get really creative. I may laugh and say, "That's a good one." How did
Yeah.
I say
Right. um. So, oh, I did forget to mention to my listeners, if you do like what's going on here, by the way, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. It would really help me out, and you get to see more people like Joe. Um, but let's talk a little bit more serious. Look, there's a lot of motorcyclists, bikers, if you will, and a lot of times they even have the right to. They're carrying a weapon, whether that be a gun, a knife, and I think that's when things really have the potential to escalate into a situation that's not good. So let's say you're on a motorcycle and you meaning the somebody's riding a motorcycle and they have a concealed weapon on them. whether it's a gun, a knife, whatever it is, and you pull them over. What is that motorcyclist supposed to do when approached by a police officer after they're pulled over?
And I assume you're talking about maybe a legal carry, concealed license,
Right.
so they have a gun on them.
Exactly, exactly. Because look, we're in New York, you and me, right? And so in New York, it is possible to carry, especially in Nassau County, or like in certain, not everywhere, but if you have a concealed carry permit, usually it's okay to carry a concealed weapon.
Right.
But the concern really is you're on a motorcycle and you have this concealed weapon, which may or may not be a good choice, and you get pulled over. That's when things really have the potential to go bad. So, what's a motorcyclist to do?
Yeah, sometimes you're better off just letting the cop know. You know, I have here's my. Don't even say I have a gun first. That's usually not uh, maybe not a good idea to say that first. But I have a concealed carry permit. I have a gun on me. I'm just letting you know. Most cops are grateful for that, and you're not really a danger to them, especially if you're upfront about it and you show them the concealed carry permit. Uh, I I think for the most part you're fine, and it's good for you. It's good for the cop. Everyone's happy. Um, Personally, there are some states that I wouldn't say a thing, even as a retired cop. If I got stopped, Virginia, Maryland, there are Pennsylvania. There's a few states that give you a hard time. I wouldn't say a word unless I had to at some point. But at least Long Island area, the city's always different.
Yeah, so
Well,
I
saying,
guess
listen, I have a concealed carry permit. Just letting you know, I have it on me.
I've heard a lot of different kinds of strategies, and one of the strategies that I've also heard about is people keeping a copy of, or motorcyclists actually keeping a copy of their paperwork, like their insurance, um, their license, and their registration in an area that's very visible, easily accessible. So there's no way there could be any mistake about trying to grab a pistol or a weapon, right? So you could just tell the officer, "Hey, I have my things and it's in this bag. It's in this little bag that, you know, whatever, the bag, there's no way it could fit a weapon." So this way there's no threat to anybody. I've heard like that as one of the strategies. What do you think?
No, I think that's a good point. Because you're on a motorcycle and the cop is asking for license, registration, insurance card, it's going to be in your saddlebag or like I said, a bag somewhere on the bike that you're reaching into. Um, so it just makes sense to have it at an easily accessible way instead of digging through all the stuff in your bag, which I'm sure many do, looking for it. Cops don't like that. It's just you're all on as a patrol cop. You're all about safety. You're going home tonight. Not our way to just let you go digging through a saddlebag for license or registration because anything can come up. Not even just a gun, a metal pipe, something in there that's now a weapon, and it's just sorry you let the guy go rummaging through as you're standing behind him waiting on a license and and insurance information.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, look, overall, and we talked about this a little before, courtesy and respect, it goes both ways, right? So if you show it and at least you're you're actually showing the officer who's pulling you over, look, I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about your safety as well as mine. I don't want this handled incorrectly, and you don't make any sudden moves. A lot of times it seems that being upfront with things seems to be the right way to go.
Yeah, again, I think they appreciate that, and hey, like I said, both ways. The cops should be respectful to you as well.
Right.
Uh, we all run into those cops who just jump down your throat. I worked with some of them. It's just the way they are. But I don't think that gets you anywhere with people.
Yeah, it makes the person who's pulled over really nervous, and again, things escalate, and I think the key for everybody's safety is to de-escalate. And
It didn't
you
have
know
didn't have to.
we go ahead.
No, I said, and you're right. It did not have to escalate.
Right.
You
Right.
know, your job is not to escalate things as a cop.
Right. And what's the look, it's not nice to get a ticket, right? For a moving violation or whatever it is.
You
But you know
have
what?
one.
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, it's a ticket. It's not like a jail sentence or something like that. So well, let's not make it into something that it's not, right? And let's just all be reasonable about it. So I really think that's the key to walking away from these things with a much better feeling. And you live and learn.
Yeah, yeah, live and learn. You just hope you learn quick enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, I guess, look, while it's everybody's right, I mean, yeah, I guess you really got to question yourself whether or not you really have to carry a pistol on your motorcycle because, God forbid, you're in an accident, right? I don't wish this on anybody, but if you're a motorcyclist and you have a concealed weapon on you, and let's say it's on your person, and you get into an accident, what do you do? What are you supposed to do there?
Ah, sure. Like I said, you certainly have to tell the cops. You have this. I guess they'll hold on to it for you. But yeah, it can be an issue.
Right. And I mean, I guess we all really have to think like, is it worth it? Right. Is it worth taking that risk? Like of, concealed carry and the risk of accidents. There's a lot of safety concerns. And I'm not saying it's somebody's to take, I'm not advocating to take away somebody's right to have a concealed carry,
Yeah,
or have a weapon. That is certainly their right if they go through the right channels and they get the permit, the CCW permit and things like that. But still, it's just something to consider. When you're weighing all your options, whether you're out there to ride if you have some sort of intent on doing something nefarious, or whether your intent is really to enjoy yourself.
and I'm all for riding with a group like you, and I'm not a big carry concealed person.
Yeah,
Especially, I'm going out to lunch. We're riding there. We're getting some lunch. I'm sure a couple of guys have it, but it for me personally, it doesn't make sense. Not that I don't carry it on other trips. Like I did a nice long trip through several states. I had it on me. I'm alone. You just never know. I just feel better with it on me. And I hope to God I never need it.
so we talked a little bit in the beginning that about your riding and that you're in the Blue Knights Motorcycle Club, and it's a law enforcement motorcycle club, and I see a lot of patches on your vest. And what's a couple over there? I mean, I see the American flag. That's pretty obvious, right? But you got any other patches on there that we might be able to talk about?
If we can see it. Well, I was in, after 9/11 because I was there for cleanup. And then in just, I said, blessed are the peacemakers. This is the Blue Knights patch here. I'm a secretary of the Blue Knights 10. Uh, it's a few. The Freeport Police patch here.
Right,
you know,
right.
Like
I
that.
mean, patches are pretty important to a motorcycle rider. So you get patches for a lot of things that distinguish yourself, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about the patches.
Different events, or like I said, I have a highway uh, patch. And I'm a little proud that I was a motor cop, so I have that. I have I got a small bag of patches that one of these days I'll get it put on, but I'm procrastinating.
Look, I'm sure you're really proud of being a motorman. And for those who don't know what a motorman is, it's basically a police officer who uses the motorcycle in patrol. And not everybody's a motorman. Not everybody could do it. Not everybody gets a choice whether to do it. And it's a lot of work because you have to stay in practice all the time. So it's something that distinguishes you uh, you against other types of police officers just by the fact that you actually ride a motorcycle the way you do.
It also has given me confidence as a rider, which is big. And we're talking about earlier the safety course. There's also an advanced motor safety course that everyone should take if they can. because you do get more confident. And then you go out there in a parking lot on your own, practice, and you realize you're getting better and better. When I say practice, I'm talking about like slow speeds, tight turns, or emergency braking. All these little things make you more confident when you're on the road. For a car that's going to cut in front of you, you won't panic. Panic, I think, a lot of times is a reason for an accident. Not always, of course. Sometimes it's just bad luck.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of videos on YouTube of a biker going on a country road curve, and instead of making the turn, they go straight into the trees. And it's all a lot of that's confidence, not always speed. It's just they they're looking at that tree in front of them, and the bike goes where your eyes go. And that's just always the case. Whether it's a phenomenon or just human reaction. If you turn left, your head turns left, the bike's going left. You look straight at that tree because you're afraid of that tree, you're going to hit that tree. Little things like that. If you're more confident, it's not going to happen.
It looks kind of funny if you watch it happen. You're just watching a motorcyclist riding around, and all of a sudden they just run their bike into a tree. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and he's only doing, say, maybe 30 miles per hour. He's not even going fast. But when you look at the video closely, you see his head is straight. His head is not turned, and that's right away you can see, okay, that's why he went into the trees.
Yeah, we all have to be really careful.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. But you're an important guy. People are calling you. People are calling.
Not that important, but my computer goes straight to the call and knocks the screen out. I have to change that setting.
Well, you have spent a lot of time with us, and I'm really appreciative of the time that you spent with us. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while I got you?
Well, how about you, Rich? And we've ridden together before. Haven't seen you in a while, so you got to get out there.
Yeah. My bike's in the shop. Unfortunately, I'm waiting for some parts to get in, but I'm gonna get out there. I'll be chasing you.
And get back out there. Yeah. And I get my wife. She likes riding. Shorter rides. When I talk about let's go on a 5-hour ride, she's like, no, I'm good. An hour or two she can handle. She does like it. And when we were in our 20s on a little Kawasaki, we have pictures of that. It's funny because she used to love it back then also. But we get older, we have kids. She worries about me out there, but
motorcycle riding really does it could bring people together. It could bring families together. It could really be a good time. It could be a great between friends. It brings you to places that you really wouldn't have gone otherwise. And I think it really gives you an appreciation for nature and things around you, because when you're riding, for me at least, it's the next best thing to flying. I mean, I can't fly yet. I think I'm a little too heavy for that. But you know, riding a motorcycle, feeling the cool of the shade, or smelling the flowers on the side of the road, or listening to the lake, smelling a lake that's nearby. I mean, it's all just wonderful things that you would never experience in a car. What about you? What do you think?
it's a brotherhood and a sisterhood. You see a biker on the side of the road, and you say, "You need any help?" And hopefully you don't, so you can keep on going. But he'll help out. I've had that myself upstate. A biker coming by, he stopped. That's just something you do. But it's also, you talk about getting out there on the road, the smell of the trees, the lake, and such. At some point, you realize you're in Zen. You realize it just comes up on you, and it's like you're not thinking of anything but the road in front of you, and it's a nice feeling. And for me, sometimes it takes an hour to get there. Sometimes I'm 15 minutes later. I'm like, nice. And I used to ride a lot more I shouldn't say a lot more, but I noticed it more when I was working, because it was just getting rid of that stress, and it just kind of washes away while you're out there on the road, especially the open road out in the mountains and stuff. Riders know, I don't have to explain to riders; they know what I'm talking about. It's just a nice zen feeling.
Yeah, I think it becomes addictive once in a while, and a lot of people will say, "My God, look at all these guys spending so much money on their bikes." But let me guarantee you something: spending money on a motorcycle is a hell of a lot cheaper than spending money on a therapist. Just a point for all you listeners out there.
Wind therapy, yep, that's for sure.
So, Joe, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming out and onto the show. And we're pretty much out of time, but we really picked up a lot of good information. We talked a lot about motorcycle safety, police officers, how it's, I mean, everybody's human. And, police officers, especially on motorcycles, they're people too. So really appreciate you coming out and sharing your insights with us. And we'll hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Vic. Thank you for having me. Very good.
All right.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Riding Counsel with Richard Jaffe. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow riders. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and ride safe.